So, do you feel comfortable answering the? Do you remember when you first became aware of the Armenian genocide?
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's a tricky one
Okay.
uh, because we never heard the word Armenian genocide in the house with the Armenians. It was chart. So, in asking me, how shall I handle that? Um,
Oh,
what?
when you're ruffling the papers, we
Oh,
hear it.
oh, sorry about that. Okay.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But you know what? Let me bring the other one here.
Okay, take it.
Okay. We're going to talk about this one. Okay.
So we could start all over. So the question is, do you remember when you first became aware of the Armenian genocide?
I thought of that a long time, and I was surprised what I discovered. And that was, I didn't hear, I wasn't focused in. I probably could have heard the word, but it wasn't registering in my brain, the Armenian, the term Armenian genocide. Uh, Only it's a bad thing. But what it really is, I hadn't internalized it. And what I was hearing, what was bad, was the chart and the softcat. My mother used to use the word softcat, and I think that was like the starving. And the chart was the brutal part. And so I had heard those words, and the Armenians had, this is what our survivors had experienced. And it wasn't until Michael made a film called The Armenian Case, or The Forgotten Genocide. That was the 28 version. The Armenian Case, I think, was an hour and a half. And so the Armenian, to the term Armenian genocide, as I look back thinking about when did it really mean something to me, it was through Michael's filming. And he made a film before The Armenian Case, and we had seen that. I knew a little about what to expect. And then in The Armenian Case, he did have my father, and he would come to the house and interview my dad, photo him, and this is where Armenian genocide really was. Hearing my father's story was related to the Armenian genocide, and what was Michael picking up, and.
Was this around the time that you felt a dual identity that you used to talk about?
No.
No? Was it after or before?
After.
After?
Yeah.
So what about the dual identity? When did that
Well,
start?
dual identity was in the sixth grade, way back in sixth grade. It was only in sixth grade we were reading about the history or whatever. I can't exactly remember, but I do remember where the teacher definitely was saying we are Americans because we're born here. If you're born here, you're an American. And quietly within myself, I'm thinking, but I wasn't born here. I was born in Mexico. I'm not a Mexican. Am I a Mexican? So I really was debating whether or not I'm a Mexican. I thought, no, I'm an Armenian. I'm not an American, I'm an Armenian. And I've never forgotten that experience I had sitting in that sixth grade class and the teacher in front. I'm sure she didn't know what was going on in my head. Obviously, I wasn't listening what else she was saying because I was fighting with the term. I wasn't born here. I knew that in the 6th grade. I was born in Mexico, and I knew I wasn't a Mexican. I have no qualms about being a Mexican. Most of my friends were Mexicans, but I knew I was Armenian. And yet I wasn't born in Armenia. I remember also coming home that day and asking my dad, what am I? He says, Hayas. He didn't use the word Armenian. He says, Hayas. And so that's when, that went on in my head. Do I want to be an American? And I think I felt I'm different from the other kids because I'm not an American. I'm an Armenian. I'm High. We're different. That went on up until the 6th grade. Excuse me, 8th or 7th and 8th grade when I went to junior high. I still had that thing about what am I? Who am I identifying? It's not who you're identifying with. What do you consider yourself to be? And I thought, I'm an Armenian. And, but I wasn't born here. I never felt American. And so, and strangely enough, when I entered UCLA, when I was making out my application in 12th grade, they ask your birthplace, and I put down American. And I entered UCLA for 4 years. I was putting down American, and I didn't pay foreign fees. Then when I came, we went to visit to Mexico in '54 after I graduated. Yeah, it must have been '56 when we went to Mexico. It was after I graduated from UCLA. And and I asked, what do we take to go into Mexico? We postponed going to Mexico because my mother wasn't a citizen. My father had become a citizen in the 40s, and my mother wasn't a citizen, so we had to make her a citizen, so we waited a year, and then we went back to Mexico. And I thought, well, what do I take? And someone said, did you vote last year? I said, yeah, I voted. Take your little slip. Do you still have that you voted? I say, I have that. So with that yellow slip, I'll never forget, it was a yellow slip, and we went to Mexico. We drove down. It took us 2.5 days.
How old were you?
I had graduated from UCLA, so I was like 20, 21.
So did you feel, when you encountered the Turks at UCLA, did you feel that you were talking to them as an American? Did you feel that you were talking to them as an Armenian? Can you talk
No,
about that?
When I talked to them, it was I was putting my cup down on the table, and while I'm doing that, I heard through over here this beautiful Turkish conversation going on. That's also the old Turkish that I used to hear in my house. Because when I went to Turkey in 2008, and I thought, I'm going to hear that, it's changed over there. So when I heard that, I looked over there, there were these, it was a boy and a girl, very conservatively dressed in their suits, which was out of place at UCLA. And I thought, well, boy, they look like guests or something. And so I went over, I didn't sit down. I went over to them and I says, are you talking in Turkish? And they said, why? Yes. And I thought, and I think they asked why, and I thought, well, I just recognized it or something. And then impulsively I asked them, I don't know how I asked them, but I know I asked them that, would you like to come over to my house tomorrow? And they looked at each other, and they didn't give me an answer. They just looked at each other. And I took it for a yes. I come home, I tell my parents, I saw these two, boy and a girl talking in Turkish, and I invited them to my house. Is it okay with you? And my father and mother look at each other. My father laughs. And like, inçkası, what does she mean? And, my father would be open to inviting these two students. But the next day when I went to the same spot, they weren't there. But I'll never, that's the only time I've heard Turks on a campus. My ears are open because I know there are Turks at UCLA and I know there's Turks at SC. So I'm walking around the campus, I'm searching for a Turk. And I like to talk to them. I also would love to go and talk to them in their Turkish student organization. It just, I have that urge just to talk to them. This is why I like talking to Fatma Muget, and now we're sort of becoming friendly with each other. She says she'll come to my house the next time she's here. And I've invited when at Cowie's, every year he gives a graduate student conference. Invariably, there could be a Turkish student. And was it last year or the year before? I invited the girl here. I took her to farmer's market and treated her. And then the first time I met a Turk in one of his classes, I sent a grant to him every year. He's studying in, what he did, he talked obviously about an Armenian issue of some sort in that class. And every year, he sends me papers or we correspond, and he goes to conferences. He's stationed in the Netherlands. He's a Greek Turk. And right now he's working on his graduate thesis, and he's going to send it to me.
Have you ever had a Turkish student take one of your classes when you were teaching?
No, I never had. The first Turk I saw was at UCLA. I had never encountered a Turkish student.
So tell us.
I encountered an Arab student, which I really liked.
So tell us a bit about your class, how it came into being, your Armenian culture class. And specifically, I was wondering if you could share some of the reactions that your students had to Michael Hagopian's documentary on the Armenian genocide. And the fire stories that preceded.
During my teaching years, I had just gone to a new school, Dixie Canyon, and I learned there.
Let's stop for a second for the sirens.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start in a different way.